Hello and welcome to the first Tech Tuesday of the decade. And I'm fully aware that we're about 4 months into this decade, but I've only just got around to making a video, and we're also about 4 weeks into lockdown. So I've got no excuse for not having uploaded a video in the last 4 months. Other than the documentary that I uploaded a while ago, which, thank you for watching. It got quite a decent response actually for a video that I just threw out. So I hope you enjoyed it. It was just a bit of a laugh to make, really. We were just making it at school. It was originally going to be submitted to Sheffield Dockfest, but obviously with the current situation, that's not possible. So I apologise. I don't know why I'm apologising to you. Because you've seen it anyway. And also, it's completely out of my control. But on to the subject of today's video, which is this. Not the whole hi-fi, but this bit here. It's the Technics SL-J1 from 1982. Yes, this is nearly 40 years old. And it's still sat in someone's room working nearly as well as the day it was made. And the nearly as well we'll get into. But for now, let's take an overview of the range and the device itself. So in terms of the range, there were 3 other models. There's the SL-J1, which is what this is, which is the bottom end. There's the SL-J2, which is the slightly higher end. I'll show you the brochure, so that should be on screen now. And then there was the SL-J3, which was the top of the range. And if you had an SL-J3, you were probably a drug dealer, because that's or a businessman, a high-flying businessman at that, because that was expensive, especially in 1982. So basically what I'm trying to say is that only yuppies could afford the SL-J3, which is why, as I'm not a yuppie, don't know if you've noticed, I've only got the SL-J1. And the most major difference between this model and the other two is that this model is a belt drive system, whereas the other two were direct drive, which is better, because the brochure tells me that it's better. I think it's something to do with belt drive is less, isn't as good for wow and flutter and stuff like that, basically, is what I think is the main issue at hand. So now, let's take a tour of the device. Moving from my right, your left, to your right, my left, isn't that trippy? Different for me to you, because we're facing different directions. But on my right, your left, we have the power button, which turns it on and off. Technology. And it displays this by saying on if the button is depressed or off if it is not depressed. Anti-depressed. And then moving to my left, your right, we have a sign that says computer control / linear tracking Tonearm, which describes some of the way that this turntable works. If you haven't noticed, it's a linear tracking turntable, which I shall get onto the benefits of later on. And then moving further along, we have the repeat button, which I don't quite understand why you'd ever press it, but when you do press it, an LED comes on, which is red. And when you press it to turn it off, the LED goes off to indicate that it's not going to repeat the record. I'm pretty sure that one's self-explanatory. And then we have the queuing button, which basically, because you can't lower the Tonearm yourself because it's on a little arm and the lid, you have to press this for it to lower it. And as you can see, I've just pressed the button, and as there isn't a record, you might just be able to see the linear tracking arm is moving across, and now it's sensed that there is one, so it's moving back again. So what it'll do is it'll look for a record and drop the needle where it finds the record, or if you say like want to skip a track but you have to do it manually, you can raise the stylus, move it across manually using these two buttons here, the skip and search. So let's say you need to move the Tonearm manually, say on a vinyl record that doesn't have any colour to it, so it's clear basically is what I'm trying to say. The laser in it won't be able to read clear records because it requires something to reflect off of it, and if you can't reflect off the shiny bit of black plastic between one track and another, it can't read it. So then if it's clear, there's nothing to reflect. So you have to do it manually is what I'm trying to say. You can lift the Tonearm using the queuing button, then just press one of these skip search buttons and it will move the stylus across, getting quicker or as the longer you press the button, and then drop it back where it needs to. On this, this is a slight fault. The skip forward button works perfectly. The skip back sometimes has a little bit of an issue. I think it might just be something's gone slightly wrong. There might be a bit of rubber that's moved out of place or something. I imagine they're membrane switches, although they do make a clicking noise, so that actually makes me think they're not. But something's gone wrong is what I'm trying to say. Then moving further to my left, your right, we have the start button and the stop button, which are actually probably the wrong way around. So what you would find is this is a little bit odd because usually the play and stop buttons are switched around, but as the arrow is indicating the direction of travel that the Tonearm will take its voyage, it's different, which is something interesting to know. It doesn't actually make any difference to anyone, but it's just something I've noticed, and I thought I should share it with you lot because I'm nice like that. And then above it you will see DC servo, which on a better model would say quartz lock or something like that, but because I'm poor it only says DC servo. But at least they've put a badge there and haven't just left it blank like car companies would do. That's something that I like about this. Nothing's blanked off. Like here on the higher level model, there'd be all buttons across here with where you can select specific tracks, much like the one that Technics did a video on. Now, before you call me out for copying, I bought this before Technics did his video, so I am the OG linear tracking turntable owner. But he did a video where he demonstrated one with one that's a bit later on. I think that one came out in the late 80s. This one's an early 80s model, where it had keys along here where you can select tracks and an order, and it will play them in that order. Very interesting, very neat feature. You see it a lot on CD players and things, but basically just allowed vinyl records to become a little bit more like compact discs. So let's demonstrate how to play a vinyl record on this turntable. Right, welcome to the demonstration shot. Yeah, I'm going to demonstrate now how to use this record player, and as you can see from this angle, it's probably a good way of showing that the size of the turntable is 12 inches. So it basically is designed to be as compact as possible. But we're not here to discuss the size of turntables. What we are here to do is to show you how to play a record on this turntable. So, first of all, you obviously need to get your record. This one is My Generation by The Who. It's a new pressing. I got it cheap, so otherwise I wouldn't have bought it. I'd have probably bought it on CD. But here we are. So place the LP onto the platter and close it. Simple as that. Press play and the turntable starts spinning. The stylus knows where it is, so it just drops the needle, and there we are. We've got a record playing. Simple as that. Far simpler than any other turntable I've ever used. Maybe other than ones that have fully automatic arms. But if you want an automatic turntable, this is a good example. As you can see there, I used the Q button there to lift the stylus from its normal resting place, so on the record. So if I put that back down again, you can see a green LED comes on. But oh no, I don't like this track, so what will I do? Oh well, I'll press the skip search button and it'll pick the needle up, move back a little bit and move across using the infrared laser to read until it reaches the end of the next track, which is the start of the start of the next track, which is the end of the current one, and we'll start playing. You can adjust that by a little wheel in the back. So if it's inaccurate, you can do that. But oh no, Sam, I don't like the next 2 tracks. What am I going to do? Well, I'll tell you what you can do. You press this twice, or 3 times, or 4, and it will skip 2 tracks, as you shall see. Oh, it's like magic. Isn't that wonderful? Oh, perfect. And it's a right track. My Generation. Arguably the most famous track from this album. Now we'll stop that, and as you can see, I've pressed the stop button and the arm will retreat all the way to its standard position. Lovely. And now you may be thinking, oh no, Sam, I want to play the Beatles 1962 to 1966, but it's a clear, well, it doesn't look clear in this shot, but it's clear. Ah, it won't play. Don't worry everyone, it will still play. You simply place the record on the platter as you would normally, but instead of just pressing play and letting the stylus do the rest, what you must do is select manual. Now once I've selected manual in a nice close-up shot, I shall close the lid and you press play and cue, and it's like any other record, you just leave it playing. But now you may be thinking, oh no, I need to move the stylus to the next track, and I can't skip it because obviously the laser won't see it. Much the same problem as when you tried to start playing it. Well, never fear, they've thought of this. Instead of just pressing it once, if you press and hold, you can move the stylus across, and as you can see, it gets quicker and slower. Lovely, lovely jubbly. Just press either way. Of course, this is the little fault that there is. Oh, I'm getting it to move, there we are. And then you go, drop it down, and there you are. And then of course stopping the record is just the same as any other. And now I know the problem, I know what you mean, I know what you're going to say, don't worry. What if I want to play I'm On My Way Again by Matt Kisson? Now, it's alright, don't worry. All you need to do is, because it's clear, just stick it on, it's a single. Now, right. You select 45 where it says speed, and then you put it down. Now it assumes, the turntable assumes that it's a 7-inch record, so you merely just press play, it moves the arm along to its normal position for playing a 45, spins up to 45 RPM, drops the needle. Wunderbar is German for wonderful. Lovely. Now I can see you've got another bloody big problem here. What if I want to play Rolling On? A theme tune from a well-known chocolate bar advert. Well, don't worry, because this one is just as simple as any other 45 RPM record. You stick it on the turntable, you press play, the arm moves across it, and it sees that it's a 45 RPM record. I don't know quite how it does it, but it's because it's opaque, it will drop the needle in the correct place to play the 45, which is what it is. Wonderful. Bit of 1970s nostalgia for those who were around then. I weren't. Now, while we're demonstrating this, you might think, well, I've got an idiot who's for a friend, and he will just come along and lift the turntable lid. That's no problem, because they've thought about idiots like your friend. You just lift it up, it stops, it goes back to its normal place, because there's a tiny little peg here which is pressed in by the frame when the lid is closed. So don't worry, your idiot friend won't damage anything. And now for quite a sensible scenario. What if I want to play Blue Monday by New Order? Well, this one's quite simple. You'd simply place the record on the turntable like so, and then instead of selecting anything ridiculous, you just simply set the speed to 45, drop it, and because it's a black record, it will be able to see where the actual record starts, so it'll just drop it in the normal place at 45 RPM. lovely jubbly. So we'll leave this record in place for the next one. So Sam, what if I want to clean my record and do it quickly, so I need to spit something else to spin the record? Well, don't worry, they've thought of this. Even though this might not be the actual way that they intended, you just lift the lid up a bit further to a 90-degree angle, being sure not to tip it too far or it might fall down the back of the hi-fi because it's bigger than the rest of it. You simply get your cleaning brush or your cloth, push in the peg at the back, move the needle along, but make sure it doesn't like drop. Stylus, sorry. And then simply place your brush on the record while it's spinning. And then when you've done, just take your finger off the peg at the back and it'll stop spinning. Now on to the faults, or the things that I've noticed which are a little bit annoying but you can live with. Nothing is breaking on this, I bought it refurbished. But there are one or two little things that I've just developed over the time that I've had it. I've had it about just over a year now, so I've noticed pretty much I pretty much know where all the issues lie. So the first of all, the issue is with this button here. As mentioned earlier, sometimes it doesn't work, but most of the time I can get it to work if I hold it down long enough or keep pressing it. And another issue is rather an unfortunate one, which I genuinely can't fix. It's this plastic piece here, which is the built-in adapter. What you're supposed to be able to do is twist, and then it's supposed to pop up, but unfortunately it doesn't anymore and I can't fix it. I tried to fix it, it's just not having it. Basically one of the feet snapped off, so I glued the foot back on and it still didn't work. So unless I'm doing something wrong, I haven't got a clue what to do. Soz. And now onto the wow and flutter. Now, unfortunately, much like an old car, some of the, let's say, if horsepower, the horses have escaped, is what I'm trying to say. So I tested it out earlier, and in terms of the speed at 33 1/3 RPM, we've got an average of 33.74 RPM, which is pretty close to what it needs to be, so that's not really an issue. The issue lies with the wow and flutter. Now, it is at 1.6, give or take, percent wow and flutter. So it basically, the wow and flutter is the idea that the speed isn't constant. Now that would, obviously you'd eliminate that with a quartz lock turntable. This isn't a quartz lock turntable, it's a belt drive, so it has a little bit more of a tendency to encounter wow and flutter. Now, according to the brochure, which I found on the internet, it should have, out of the factory, 0.06 wow and flutter, which is bloody good. But unfortunately, it just doesn't have that anymore, and it has actually gone up in the time that I've noticed I have owned it. When I first bought it, it was about 1.44% wow and flutter, and now it's on 1.6, so hopefully it doesn't get any higher, but I doubt it will do, because these things won't. It's not going to wear that much. And if it does, I'll just change the belt or change the motor. I don't know. I'll sort it out. Don't worry. I'll sort it. But in conclusion, personally, I think this is 90 quid well spent. It's a decent turntable, better than anything you can buy today. The styluses are still available. In fact, this is a brand new one when I bought it, because the bloke who refurbished it put a new one in. And just if you want to know, it's a universal stylus type T4P cartridge. So you just stick a new cartridge in, it'll work brand new, work as good as new even. And the current one that I've got in it, which is the one that the bloke who refurbished it put in it, is the EPS 24CS. So that's a conical stylus, as opposed to the different type. I forgot what the other type is, but you can buy two types. The conical one is slightly lower range than the other type, but it does the job. And you can still buy them from Switzerland. There's still a bloke making them. I don't know if it is a bloke. It might be more blokes in a shed, or it might be many blokes in a factory. I don't know. But you can still buy one. I've got the case for it, and it's still a stand that's supported. So if you're worried about longevity with this turntable and some of the other Technics linear tracking turntables, don't worry. Basically, you can still get one. And this turntable will keep working forever, hopefully. Touch wood. In other words, thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe. Go and check out the documentary about schools that I uploaded the other week. And I hope that I've killed some time in your lockdown. Watch some good films, and I'll see you in a bit. Ta-ra.
I've pounded the road from coast to coast, Yorkie and me rolling on. 'Cause a long day's run can be short on fun without Yorkie to help me along. Good, rich and thick, a milk chocolate brick, each bite a chunky big mouthful. Yorkie's the shape that real milk chocolate ought to be. So when I spill that big old mill, there's plenty more in store for me from that chunky bar of mine.
Roundtree's Yorkie, chunky milk chocolate, or peanuts in milk chocolate.